All right, so I got to go to ArenaNet headquarters to delete Guardian and buff Ranger. Now, neither of those things happened because I'm not nearly as important as I thought I was, but I did have a good time. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the story all about how I finally left my house after 7 years. So, for those that don't know, I live near Atlanta, Georgia. That's the state, not the country. I live on the eastern end of the United States. ArenaNet is near the top left. That is about as far away as you could possibly be while still being in the mainland United States. I said mainland, I'm not counting Alaska when I say that, or Hawaii. So, what happened? Basically, last year, they were like, oh yeah, we're doing our yearly thing in Seattle. And I was like, what yearly thing in Seattle? I didn't know about this. Apparently, every year in Seattle, they have a Guild Wars 2 community get-together. And they, basically, you have to get tickets for it. You can get in without a ticket, but they will only let a max number of people in the building, fire hazards and stuff like that. So if you don't have a ticket, you're not guaranteed getting in. You might have to wait outside, and then it's, you know, maybe you get in, maybe you don't. So I was like, last year, I heard about that, and I was like, man, that sounds kind of fun. As, you know, like, I'm a content creator for Guild Wars 2, big fish, small pond, in this one location. Everybody would know me. It would be cool, you know, feel like a star for a night. And, you know, get to chat with the people who made the game. Sounds amazing, right? So I was like, I kind of like to go, and I talked to my wife last year. And, you know, at that point, I've been streaming every day for 6 years in a row. I was like, hey, if I was interested in this, would you want to go? And she's like, yes. And I was like, I was thinking maybe go to PAX because it's like at the same time. She's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, someone wants to get out of the house. All right. And then we asked my son, he's like, why would I want to stay home while you go to this? I'm like, well, if you're afraid of flying, because he's never been flying. I have. And I was like, you are afraid of flying, you know, and you want to stay with Grandpa? He's like, no, I want to go with you to video game stuff. And I'm like, okay. So this year rolls around and we look at the price. Never mind. Yeah, no, that's too expensive. Cancel the whole thing. That is too damn much. 3 people going to Seattle, staying 2 nights and coming back, about $4,000. Can't do it. Never mind. Cancel the whole thing. Guess I'm not going. Telling my dad this over dinner, and my old man, he's like, oh, well, I got like 1 million frequent flyer miles if you want them. Wait, really? I mean, I was just telling you the story. I didn't think you could actually fix this problem. Honey, how much would it get cheaper if we had 1 million frequent flyer miles? And apparently it was like half the price, because like half of it was in the plane tickets. And so then he looks and he's like, oh, never mind, I don't have 1 million. I have like 100,000, but you can have them though. And he just gives me these. Apparently he has some credit card where every time he uses it, he gets some frequent flyer miles, and he had like 100K saved up, and that was just enough for 3 people to and from Seattle. So big shout out to my old man. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. It was still costly. The hotel was more expensive because PAX was happening at that time. We had to get the PAX tickets, which were just expensive. We got the tickets for the Seattle thing, or the Guild Wars 2 community event, which my wife forgot to bring. The love of my life, she forgot them in the hotel. And we get there, and luckily, I've just got one of those faces because they still let me in. And I was like, I swear I bought a ticket. And they're like, yeah, okay, right this way, Mr. So Special. Anyway, getting close to the day of the trip, 2 days before we're heading out, and Ruby from ArenaNet messages me and the couple of other partners who said we're going, and she said, hey, we would like to do something special for you guys. Can you be here at 3:30? I'm looking at what time my plane's landing. I was like, I think so? I wish I had known about this earlier. I would have scheduled a different flight, but yeah, whatever you're gonna do, I want it, but I'm a try. And she's like, all right, so you wear pants? I wore pants that day, like I'm not now. Anyway, so she says, we wanna give you guys a tour of ArenaNet. And I'm like, I want to be given a tour of ArenaNet. So she's like, okay, we'll arrange for transportation to and from here. So, and I'm like, oh, that's fantastic, because we're not gonna have a car, and we have to pay for like, you know, taxi, stuff like that. And she's like, great, here's my login. I was like, for what? And she's like, this is my Uber login. Just get yourself something, don't get anything too expensive, and get over here. I was like, okay. And I'm like, 1, I have to install Uber. 2, they're trusting me with their Uber login. 3, do they have limos? So like all these thoughts are going through my head. And so I'm like frantically trying to install Uber and figure out the app because I've never used it, and not burn their entire bank account at the same time. And I'm like, they're really trusting me with this. And so anyway, figure it out. We get an Uber, tell the guy to meet us at the hotel. Didn't realize the hotel had 2 entrances. I was on the wrong side. I made this poor guy run around looking for us. He found us. I apologize for being stupid. He takes us to ArenaNet. We get to the ArenaNet building, which it's like a big building with many offices in it. ArenaNet is one of the offices in this big building. And we're outside, And at that point, it's time to suit up. And by suit up, I mean strap on the plushie. I had told people if they wanted to find me in a crowd, I would have the little orange traffic cone on my shoulder. And this was made possible thanks to this harness thing that I am holding. And what this is like a shoulder pad with some straps and a seat that a stuffed animal can sit in. Made by Bluebell. Shout out to Bluebell in the chat. She crocheted this out of that. She 3D printed this with her hands. It's amazing. It wasn't perfect, but for something she conjured out of thin air, boy howdy, it did the job. You can see me, I'm wearing it right there, and you can barely, you can see like the kind of pull on my hoodie right there. I had to attach it to my belt loop for it to stay on, and you can see like it's going up there, and then he's on my shoulder. And dude, I was making micro adjustments to the little guy like for the next 5 hours, but it worked. And everybody said they loved it. Even Ruby was like, he is so cute. How is he staying on? And then I was like, oh, she's like, oh, I gotta go. And she was gone. So she never found out how he was staying on. But she was kind of a blur the whole time. She was running all over the place. So we get to ArenaNet and we get into the building. And I immediately see a couple people sitting in the lobby. I didn't immediately recognize them. Turns out they were brand new ArenaNet content creators, or relatively new. And I believe it was Helvetica and their partner, whose name I forget. I'm sorry, I'm a terrible human being, from Guild Wars 2 University. And I've got a picture of them later in this thing. And they were sitting there and they were like, hi, Muck. And I'm like, hello. And they're like, we know you, I don't think you know us. And I'm like, I do not, nice to meet you. I went up and I shook their hand, and I was like, are you here for the partner thing? And they're like, yeah. And there was one person that kept kind of staring at us through the glass of a nearby window and peeking around the corner, and I was like, are they another partner? Turns out it was Darkbringer. It was Darkbringer who was creeping on us, and I didn't know who he was until later, because I didn't have a name to the face. But Darkbringer was like, all right, yeah, okay, they're alive out there, and he was just kind of checking on us from time to time. But he was like peeking in on us. He thinks I didn't see him, but I saw him. Dark, if you're out there, I saw you seeing me seeing you. Anyway, so we're chilling there in the lobby, and some time passes, and I get this photo while I'm there in front of the thing, and I posted this on Twitter. And what was my exact words? Because it blew up. It blew up. I posted this and I said, I'm about to buff Rangers so hard. 1.3K likes. Chat, this is doing numbers. I think a lot of people misunderstood me and they thought I just got hired at ArenaNet like Roy. No, that joke was dangerous. I gave people the wrong idea. Anyway, so I'm here at ArenaNet. We're waiting in the lobby. We're waiting for more people to show up. There's me and the boy. Boy was there as well. Snebzor walks in. Now, this picture was taken later on, but Snebzor walks in, and I said, hey to him, I'm like, yo, Sneb. And I'm talking with Sneb, talking with him for a bit, and then, who else? Jebro walked in. Dude, I tried to get a picture with everyone. However, I also didn't have the guts to interrupt people. And because I was constantly waiting on openings, I did not get a picture with everybody. However, I will tell you, I saw Jebro Unity, I saw Emmy.exe there, I saw Malcolmist. It's funny. Malcolmist came up and introduced themselves to me, and I was like, hi. And they're like, hey, Malcolm. I'm like, hello. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know who you are. And they're like, it's Malcolmist. And I was like, Malcolmist. And to which I was like, you look nothing like your Twitter profile picture. And they laughed, and they were like, okay, fair. I was like, yeah, I did not know what you looked like in real life. And so then, we had some back and forth and talked and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. But Malcolmist was pretty awesome. Malcolmist also had this big poster. Oh, can I show it off? Let me see. They did, I think it was Malcolmist. They brought in this big, like, handmade banner thing. Give me a second. They show, oh, there's them at the ArenaNet building. Oh, this is it. Okay, this thing, Malcolmist was holding this like a giant flag. I don't know if they handmade this or printed or what, but this is like artwork of, I think, the devs' characters. But they came in and went like this and showed it, and Ruby was like, oh! And I was like, wait, what is this? I didn't know what this is. But Malcolmist apparently brought this massive gift that they and other people had made, and it was gorgeous. And again, this thing was the size of like a flag. It was huge. So Malcolmist comes in with this thing, which of course made all the rest of us look freaking terrible. Let's see, who else? There was Emmy there, and Jebro, and Snebzor, and Malcolmist, and me, and a whole bunch of new partners. Like there was Guild Wars 2 University, a Voxter, Nienna, Engelbert, and like some of these I'm looking. I've got a list over here because I didn't know names to faces. So anyway, we all get in there and we're in the lobby, and then David from ArenaNet, which I'm gonna go. Let me see where. Okay. Here we go. This guy's name is David. So he's at ArenaNet, and he comes in, and he apparently works with Ruby on some stuff there. Like they're partners in what they do, but Ruby's the one that is more customer facing. So David comes in, and he takes us all into this big conference room. And he's like, hey, so excited to have you guys here. We've never done like a tour like this before, but Mukluk's really important. So, no, he didn't say that. He's like, but you know, we saw so many of you were coming out this year and we wanted to do this, and you know, can't wait to show you guys some stuff, and hopefully you guys will find this really cool. And we're like really excited. Except Jebro, he's like, how is that thing staying on your shoulder? And I was like, I'll tell you later. And David says, now, I'm not going to take you guys to any rooms with super secret projects, but we might be walking past rooms with super secret projects, and I don't want something I'm not expecting to be in the background of a photo. So please keep your phones in your pockets as we are walking. Like, you can take all the pictures you want in the lobby, but please, phones in pockets when we're not in the lobby. And I was like, okay. And we go down the hallway, and immediately Roy pulls out his phone and starts playing with it. And I was like, Roy, phone in your pocket. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was so excited to meet the devs. And he puts his phone away. So I reprimanded him. So we walked past a few doors. One said like Guild Wars 3, one said Guild Wars 4, one said Tyrion Fight Tactics. And we get back to this other door, and we go in there, and it's like a room that's like for testing. And it's got a whole bunch of computers. They've got eye trackers, they've got cameras, there's microphones, and basically they just tell us about this room. And this room, essentially, they get a whole bunch of people that are like professional testers. How do you get that job? I want that job. And he's like, we get people in here, they hit them with an NDA, and they have them play unreleased stuff, essentially. And the idea of the room was, if you're in there, like, let's say there's a big lore reveal, something that's supposed to make you go, oh my god, Timey was Bram's father, whatever. And the eye tracker and like the camera are supposed to see if they're getting what they want out of you. Like if you gasp, if your eye is looking on the right thing, maybe you just miss it because there's no yellow paint, things like that. It was pretty cool. And Emmy asked a really good question while we were in there. Emmy's like, how do you know if you get people in here that are just like hardcore lore nerds or hardcore like gamers, like they just want to kill bosses, stuff like that? And he goes, we actually have a lot of our testers filed under one or the other, but sometimes it's funny to flip them. Like have the lore nerds do something that's like really difficult and have the gamers do something lore related and see what their reactions are. But they use this room to basically, see if they're getting the reactions out of people they want to get out of them. And I thought that was really cool. So they basically tell us about, all of this and how it works. And then they take us on to the next room. And the next room was the mocap room, aka the Motion Capture Studio. You guys ever seen those scenes where like in the making of whatever movie, and they've got a person in like a suit with little like balls all over them, and they're acting, and then and then it gets thrown into a computer, and then out comes like Gollum or Smaug or something like that? They had a motion capture room, and it was this room with like the really smooth floors and walls, and then there was just like a ring of camera stands around the entire thing, all pointed into the middle. And there was like a coat rack over on the side with those Velcro suits. And basically people would go in there and put on the Velcro suits. And then they had these little Velcro balls, and they would stick them on the suit. And the balls were covered in reflective tape. And so as you ran around in that open area in between all the cameras, the light would bounce off the tape. And then on the computer, the person would start by doing a T-pose, and they would go, okay, this ball is right hand, this ball is right elbow, and they would label each of them, and then you get like a wireframe, and then they say, go nuts, and the person could run around and jump around and fight and do whatever. Balls, yes, balls. And it was really cool. It was really cool. But we got to ask questions, and my son embarrassed me by asking, he raised his hand, and they're like, yes, and he goes, if you've got a scene where someone's like falling off a cliff, do you like stack up a lot of stuff and then just like drop them? And she's like, no, we have safety guidelines. We can't just like drop people on like from 10 feet onto the floor. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even act like I don't know him. He looks just like me. And I'm just like, Jesus. And then she's like, any other questions? And I was like, I got one. And she's like, what's up? And I said, What is your favorite thing that you guys have made in here that made it into like a cutscene that we've seen? And she's like, ooh, that's a good one. And she goes, maybe when Bangar was fighting Ritlock. Because apparently that was recorded by two dudes in Velcro suits pretending to beat the crap out of each other and rolling around on the floor in there. And she said it was really difficult figuring out, quote unquote, whose balls were whose, because they were all mixed up. But basically, the cutscene of Bangar and Ritlock throwing hands for a few minutes was recorded in that room that we were in, and it was two dudes in Velcro suits. Yeah, they said that room was mostly for cutscenes, not for, like, I asked them, I was like, when you guys made all the new spear animations for Janthier, was that in this room? And she's like, no, the animators did that. We didn't use, like, live people for that. But apparently, that room was one of 4 mocap studios in Seattle. David was bragging about it. And so if they ever have an idea for like a cutscene and they want to record it, they have some of the fastest turnaround time because it's all in the building. It's all right there. They just get some people in the Velcro suits. They record the movements. Then they add the voice acting later, because it doesn't have to be the voice actors that do it. They could just add the voice actors stuff in later. But yeah, they have a really fast turnaround time for that. So the mocap. We were done with the mocap room, and they said, please don't trip on the cords. Every camera is $600, and there's like 80 of them in here. And we ended up going on to the next room, which was, forgive me, I remember the name. I remember what it was. I don't remember the name. Foley? I think it was Foley was the name of it. And the room was all about sound. And basically, we went in there, and dude, it was kind of creepy. Because we go in there, and they close the door, and it's dead quiet. You couldn't hear an air conditioner. You couldn't hear anything. And it was like, they said, you know what's above us? And we're like, what? And they're like, the server room. And we're like, really? Because it was just dead quiet. And like, it was like a new level of quiet I had never experienced. And they're like, so in this room, and the room looked like it had a pile of junk. There was like a broken bicycle. There was a porcelain toilet like against the wall, not for use. There was like just bits and bobs of all kinds of crazy stuff in the Foley room. And they were like, in this room, we make sound effects. And he goes, and today I've got an example for you. And he takes the bicycle that's broken, but there's one tire on it. And he sets the part of a bike on the floor, spins the tire. Then he takes a strip of leather and pushes it against the tire like this. So it was like, that's my best attempt. And I remember I was like, that kind of sounds like a roller beetle. And he goes, all right, come with me. He takes us to another room with a computer and tweaks the sound a bit and then pulls in a roller beetle. And it's like, chirp, 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 chirp. And I was like, oh my freaking God, that was a roller beetle. So he made the sounds the roller beetle makes by basically spinning a bicycle tire and hitting it with like a leather strap and then like playing with the pitches. It was really neat. It was really cool. And then like there was some sentimental stuff in there. He was like, do you see that thing? And there was this thing on the wall that was like, it almost looked like a flail. Imagine like a stick and like a long strap. And then on the end of it is this like sphere, but it was like, circle, and it was like one circle going this way and another circle going the other way. And they were like, and it was like charred, like it had been burned. And they're like, do you see that? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, over 10 years ago, when Guild Wars 2 first came out, we needed sound effects for the fire spells. And some guys, professionals, don't do this at home. Professionals, of course. Some guys took this to one of their yards and set it on fire and started swinging it around. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And those sounds became every fire SFX in the game in some way, shape, or form. So this burnt, scorched flail hanging on the wall was the source of every fire sound effect we've ever heard in Guild Wars 2. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then my son's like, what are those shoes? And he points, and there's this really giant, like almost clown shoe sized shoes on a shelf. And he's like, oh, these. And he picks them up. And it's like, imagine a shoe, but it's got like a layer of leather and another layer and another layer and another layer and another layer. So it's just like, there's not like tread on the bottom. There's just like 40 layers of leather. Like this thing is just like, boom, when you stomp it. And he goes, meet the original Char footprints. And basically, oh, hi, Noxxi. Basically, those shoes when he would stomp them on the ground, it made this really thick, reverberating noise. Like it was something way heavier than what it looked like. And those shoes were what they used to make the original Char footprint sounds when they put them down. What's up, Noxxi? Why are you sending me YouTube links right now? What is this? Is this relevant? Playing with... Oh! I had no idea this was recorded. Behind the sound. I guess that's the flail. Doesn't look the same when it's I don't know, this is only 8 years ago. This might be more recent. That's the one. That's it right there. That is it. That is it. I saw like when he went back, that's the 2 rings. That is the one. That's the thing that we saw in the studio. Imagine trying to not set the microphone. Yeah, and they're like professionals. So that was really cool. So we saw we see the Foley room. It was really neat. And they're like, any questions? And I said, have you guys ever been like trying to get one sound and then you accidentally make like the coolest laser blaster sound you've ever heard in your life? And the guy's like, yes! And I'm like, and you go running out of the room like, we gotta add a laser. And they're like, we don't need a laser for this. And they're like, you need this laser, trust me. And he's like, yes! And he's like, we just have to save those for when we need them. But then they showed us a video of one guy in the room that had no sound and had like a jar of like slime. And he was just sticking his hand in it. He's just like... And and he was just doing like fart noises with it. And he's like, I don't know what we're gonna use these for, but this was our day at work yesterday, and we were all laughing because it's like, imagine you're just playing with slime, and someone walks in, and you're like, I'm working, get out, close the door, you know. Like, that was like what they were doing. So yeah, they were they had that. But then they were like, we're short on time, which was a lie, and they're like, all right, so we all leave the Foley room, and we go to this room. Chat, there's like a snack bar, like a lunchroom area, and we go in there, and they're like, all right, take anything you want. Chat, they had like 3 fully stocked fridges of soda and fruit and like candy bars. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I have never worked at a place that was this generous to my snacking needs. This is crazy. So, you know me, I got a Coke, and it had been hours since I ate, so I got like a cereal bar or something just to top me off. And then they were like, all right, we didn't know some of y'all were bringing family, so I'm sorry, we don't have goodie bags for all the family members, but all the partners, bare minimum, we got you goodie bags. And thus, the bribes began, chat. The bribes began. And they gave us all baggy waggies with stuff in them. My bag has been mixed with all the stuff I got at the meetup. So I'm gonna show you all the bribes a little bit later on. But we got a lot of cool stuff in that room and snacks. So later, David asked me, he's like, Muck, what was your favorite thing you saw on the tour? What was your favorite room? I was like, definitely the room where you gave me free snacks and a bribe. And he laughed. I'm like, okay, the Foley room. I really like the Foley room. That was cool. So it really, the tour could be split into like 3 different things. We did like the Foley room, and we did the mocap room, and we did the room where they like had like the testers there. The live stream room. Oh! You are right. Thank you. That's my wife in the chat reminding me. There was another one we stopped by. It was for a shorter period of time. But you guys know whenever they do like the live chats on the Twitch channel and stuff like that, they took us to that room after the Foley room. So we went in there, and it was funny because Ruby was telling us, they were like, yeah, it gets to be so hot in here. It's like there was like a server in the closet, and she was talking about how they had all these issues with like air conditioning problems in there. She really just ranted about that room for a long time. But it was cool seeing the actual physical space where they get on camera and talk about like the upcoming stuff that they add to the game and stuff like that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Did you get to see the toaster? No, I asked if I could see Roy's toaster, and they said no, it's locked away right now. It's locked away. Let's see. Hit him with something in person. So we left that room, and then they took us to a bus that was outside. They took us to a bus, and there was a bunch of ArenaNet staff that had been like actually working and not just like playing with us, that were already on the bus. And then they put all us partners on the bus, and they drove us all to the event. And Ruby's like, we gotta hurry, we're short on time. We get there 2 hours early. And we're outside this nice air-conditioned building, and Ruby's like, you can't go in yet. I gotta go get it ready. And she's like, I'll see you guys in like 2 hours. And I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, go find a tree to stand under or something. Not her exact words. I'm paraphrasing here. But they go inside, and so like me and Sneb and Emmy, all of us are just outside in the heat. And I'm just like, really? Okay, so like we tried to find some shade, and David was like, don't worry, we'll let you, it was like 5, and he's like, we'll let you in at 6 and we'll do some like party games. I was like, okay, that was a lie, that never happened. I didn't forget, David, if you see this. So yeah, that was a lie. So we found the shadiest shade that we could, and we were all just like chatting and stuff like that, and we started hearing like a ruckus on the other side of the building, because like, it was like when you walk up to the building, they put up a sign that said like, stand here for the Guild Wars 2 event. And then there was another sign that said VIPs go around back. But their bus just dropped us off around back. So we were around back. So we were back there, and that was where I took some of these other pictures. Oh, that's not it. Give me one sec. Hold on, where is my photos? Okay, this should be it. Okay, so that was at the studio, and that was me and Boy at the studio. All right, so this is me and Snebzor behind the building that they told us to, stand here for 2 hours. So we were just standing here and chilling, and I was like, yo, Sneb, I gotta get a picture with you. And he's like, yeah, sure. And so we were chatting, and we talked for a long time. It was nice. That's me with my loot bag. That's the plushie. Bluebell, here's your handiwork, trying desperately to keep him on my shoulder. Roy! So Roy showed up near the end of the tour, and I was like, Roy, you gotta let me get a picture. And he comes up and claps me on the back, and we got a photo with Roy. So we got, dude, you know how we always joke around when he's streaming, and we're like, oh yeah, this is Roy Marks? When we were on the bus, Roy was one of the last people to get on the bus, and the other people that worked at ArenaNet are like, oh, who's this partner? Is this Roy? Oh no, I think it's Roy. And I'm like, that joke is here too? Are you serious? Like, all the other people that worked there were calling him Roy. And I'm like, wow, okay. Compression's like, yeah, what? I'm not judging. Dude, I had the old man shoes. So many, dude, there's literally part of a thread on the subreddit for Guild Wars 2 about my New Balance shoes. Yes, I'm old. Bite me. So then other people started like showing up and just like ignoring the VIP sign and wandering around. I don't know if any of you remember a user that was in my chat for years. He hasn't been here lately, but he was here for years, named Dr. Doctor. This is Doc. This person told me their name, and like the horrible human being I am, I have forgotten it. I am very sorry if you're here. I loved meeting you. I forgot half of the names I learned this day. I learned way too many. So they show up and they chatted with us out back for a bit. And at this point in time, they started giving out these bags to everyone who was there. And they also gave us all a piece of paper. Hold on, do I have the shirt in here? It might be, I do have the shirt in here. Okay, so they gave us all a piece of paper. And on the piece of paper, hold on, I have to cover one line of sensitive information. They said, write your name, your phone number, your size, and circle one of these. So I circled the one that had the Visions of Eternity logo. There's also Metal Legion, and there's one of some like Quaggins under an umbrella in the rain. And you choose one of them. And we're like, okay. And then a little while later, they literally had someone there making shirts. Like immediately, they gave you whatever you asked for. So like pretty much everyone there got a shirt. So this is mine. I got one of these in my size. So I got that. Wrong choice. I'm very happy with my choice. Muck you. So I got that, and then we got the bag. So this bag was from being there at the event. I would circle all three, then you would get none because you're greedy. Then this guy shows up. Apparently, this is a fan-made Choya. This person, I say guy, this might be a gal. I can't even tell because the costume covers so much of the body. I'm not sure. This person has apparently been showing up with insane costumes since 2008, chat. 2008. I don't even know how many years this is. But people were bragging about him. So this Choya walks up and I'm like, can I get a picture? And they're like, yes, you may. And then they walked up and I took a picture. There was also someone there in a char suit that showed up way later on. I didn't manage to get a photo of that one, but they do have a picture on the subreddit. So at this point, just random people are coming up to me and they're like, yo, I love your videos. And I'm like, I love your taste in videos. And like, can I get a photo? And I was like, I'd love to. So at this point, my ego is getting inflated to an unhealthy degree. Just lots of people are coming up, they're smiling, they're asking for pictures. And I'm like, sure. And I told all of them, because like half of them wanted us to use their camera, and half of them are just like, can I get a copy of the picture? Because my wife was taking the photos. And I was like, sure, I'll drop the whole collection on Twitter and the Discord when I get home. So a lot of these photos, people are going to be, you know, copying and saving them for me after I showed them. Where's your Mulan pose? So I asked people, I'm like, you want me to be act normal or goofy? And if they said goofy, I did the Mulan pose. You're going to see some of them. Muck's head got so big his hairline started to look normal again. All right, chat. This guy's here almost every day. Make your guess. Who is this pompous? Never mind, he just gave it away. That's Nog Dog. And he said, do the Emperor thing. So that's Nog Dog, looking very pompous. And that's me. The plushie is starting to fall over at this point in time. Nice shoes, thank you. And you can see the guy making the t-shirts in the back. They've got the t-shirt making machines back there. Then these kind folks walk up, and they gave me a card. It's in my loot somewhere. It's in here somewhere. All right, they give me a card. And the card says, best wishes for a happy birthday and a wonderful year ahead. Happy birthday. Thanks for all you do. Here's to keeping the streak alive. From Jeremy and Sarah. And I've got their usernames here. And chat. One of the best gifts I got the whole time I was there. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Yeah, they gave me a $25 Panda Express gift card. One of my favorite places to get fat. Wonderful. So shout out to them. They gave me that. And yeah, they were awesome. So they were there, and then we took a picture with them. And you see this? They had a plushie too. At this point in time, I started seeing other Meemuks in the wild for the first time ever. So this guy had a plushie on his backpack. Then she had me sign a book. Apparently she had a book and she had been collecting signatures at this thing for years. This guy came up and he's like, sign my bag, please. I'm like, okay. And he's like, use my back. I'm like, okay. You say he's loving it. This person showed up and they asked for the Mulan pose. So we did that. And then I guess my wife just snapped this picture as well. I'm just talking with some folks. And in between one of these photos, I was like, man, there's a lot of people walking around the building. And I turned around and I realized the event has begun. Like, I had been, like, I had people around me for so much, I didn't realize they had opened the doors, and, like, the flood had come into the building, and I didn't realize because of that. So, took a picture with them, and, all right, chat. This is another person who is here every single day. Dude, he looks like Jim Carrey, the mask here. This person is here almost every day, and they have a Patreon sound. That's your hints. Guess. Who is it? This guy came up behind me and made his Patreon noise in my ear, and I was like, oh my God. And no one. No. It's Flu Girl? She's not a patron. It's Niavalar, the guy that makes the Wookiee noises. He came up and went in my ear, and I'm like, oh my God. And I spun around, and I was like, oh my gosh. So that's Niavalar. So that's him. Yeah, after he ASMR Wookieed me. Yeah, no, it's not Flu Girl. Lol. So he was there. At this point, we start getting a really big crowd. Another person, this person with fine taste, comes up with a plushie attached to her purse, and she goes, I can't detach it, hands me her whole purse, and asks me to sign the plushie. First time I'd ever done that. So this is me trying to sign a plushie and not ruin the plushie. I had never done that before. So do that, take a picture with her, and there's her purse Meemuk. So he's just hanging there. And I get a picture with them. These two fine fellas came up and got a picture with me, and this guy came up and got a picture with me. He said, just act normal. I'm like, yes, sir. So I just did a normal pose there. This guy, okay. This guy comes up to me, chat. Okay, this is a freaking story and a half. This dude walks up to me and he goes, hey, do you remember running a convergence with me February 2025? I was in the South Lane. Muckety, no, I don't remember being in the Convergence February 2025 in the South Lane. What do you mean? And he goes, you accused me of being a copycat because my character looks like it has a traffic cone on its head and your character looks like it has a traffic cone on its head. And I'm like, I don't doubt that I said that, but he goes, I just wanted you to know I had the traffic cone first. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm the copycat. He's like, all right, would you sign my traffic cone? And I'm like, sure. And then he has me sign his traffic cone. And then he hands me, okay, I gotta see if I can find it. Hold on. It's in the loot bag somewhere. Okay, here we go. He hands me a physical toy traffic cone. He just brought this to give to me. I mean, it made a lasting impression. So I have this now. So I have that in my loot bag. So he gave me that. And also, if you see, he's got a sheet of stickers of traffic cones. And he was giving everybody one, and I stuck one on my badge right here. Clearly knows how to promote himself. Clearly. How's it feel to be Beyonce for a day? Pretty good. Honestly, it felt pretty good. So I signed the traffic cone. These two fine folks were from Guild Wars 2 University. Do any of you guys know of GW2 University? These two are new in the partner program, and they were representing GW2 Uni. So if you've ever heard of that group, that's them, the two of them. But they are new, so if you haven't, don't feel bad. This guy made an impression, chat. This guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, I don't really know you." And I'm like, "Okay, why are you talking to me?" And he goes, "My brother loves your stuff." And I was like, I think I see where this is going. He goes, "Can you take a picture with me so I can piss him off?" And I was like, "I would love to." And I was like, "You want me to act like you're the king?" And he's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay." So we take this photo purely for the purpose of sending it to his brother to make him angry. This guy didn't even like me. So, yeah, that's a good brother. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like proper brother material. So we do this photo purely to make somebody mad. This lady comes up. She was like 4 foot of energy. She comes up and she was like, "Would you sign this, please?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I signed her Meetup. She had a Meetup. As you can see, mine's on my shoulder. And then, we go to do, she's like, "All right, let's do a picture." But then, like, she squatted even lower. So that meme that it's like how to talk to short people? And it's like, do not do this, do not lean over. I'm like, that's playing through my head. And I'm like, is it rude if I squat down a little bit? Because I don't think I'm in the picture right now. And like, that's playing in my head. I'm like, I don't want to be rude, but I feel like I'm not in the photo if I don't scrunch a little bit. So she was so compact, but she was awesome. She had big assertion energy for sure. But yeah, we signed her hat and said hi to her. She was very sweet. This was another person that was very brief. They just came up, asked for a picture. I said, "You got it." We took a picture. Then, okay, Nogdog comes back and he has a new name tag. And this one says, "Skimmer greater than Skiff." And he goes, "Can you take a picture with me again? And we send this to Flute Girl to make her mad." And I was like, "I would love to." So we took this one purely to crop it and send it to Flute to make Flute mad. I haven't done it. No, take a screenshot of the screen right now. You can do it. I haven't done it yet. Could have done a better angle. Look, we were working with what we had, okay? All right. So we did that just for that. Bow tie. Yeah, he was looking sharp, man. He was looking sharp. Okay. This is Darkbringer. Darkbringer is one of the guys that makes the UI over at ArenaNet. He was very shy. He was also very nice. We talked to him for a while, and he, we were talking about stuff in game, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I feel like if I'm talking to you, I should have something to give you to do." And he's like, "What do you got?" And I was like, and I'm trying to think of a UI problem. I can't just say delete Guardians. He's not in charge of Guardians. And the best thing I could think of on spur of the moment was the musical notes for the Troubadour. I was like, I have had so many people contact me, and they're confused by those notes. Some think they represent 4, some think they represent 6, no one thinks they represent 3. Also, maybe move them over like the hit point bar or something. And he's like, I'll think about it. And I'm like, okay. So that was the feedback I gave him. He looks different without all the infusions, right? So we talked to Darkbringer about the Troubadour thing, but we also just chatted with him for a while. He was really nice. You can see from his name tag, user interface engineer. He was great. And then after that, Grouch? Friggin' Josh, I didn't recognize him like without the glasses. Friggin' Groucharoo runs up to me and gets a photo and takes off. Chat, I don't know if I said 2 words to him. Like I didn't even like completely comprehend who he was until he was basically gone. So I got this photo with Grouch, and I'm not sure he said a single word to me. He's just like, "Hey, picture, hey, okay, bye." He was out of there. It was like a hit and run photo. So that's Groucharoo. You see, at this point, chat, I have not even been inside the venue. I am out back and people are coming in and some of them are spotting me out the rear glass and coming outside to meet me. I haven't even been inside yet. Going to the next one. All right, so at this point, I finally step inside, and someone asked me to sign this book of theirs. So I'm like, okay, so I signed the book. And then over here, like, Gabe, at this point, you chat, Gabe was done. Gabe enjoyed the trip to ArenaNet HQ, where he got to see, like, game dev. Here, though, it was mostly just people socializing. Gabe was bored as hell. He was super bored. So he was checked out and wishing he had brought a book. So I was coming over here, and then someone and their mom came over and started talking to me. And they were really nice, so I talked to them for a while. So I was like, you know, kind of awkwardly like standing on this other landing. Then these fine folks came up, and they, you know, I chatted with them for a bit. She's got the Naruto thing, and we did a picture. They asked me to be goofy, so here's me being goofy. And then this group came up and asked for a pic. Actually, you know what? I think they came up and just chatted with me. And then me being the ego person that I was, I said, y'all want a pic? So I think I suggested this one, I have to be fair. And then these two were waiting behind them, and I got a picture with them, and they were super nice. And this was a couple that caught me when I was inside the venue, and we took a picture with them. And then this was someone I didn't know, and I'm glad they had a name tag that was in the picture. So this is Logan, who works in environment art. And he was like, hey, you are my favorite YouTuber. I was like, that's very high praise because Mr. Beast exists. And he was like, I really like how you review our stuff. Even if you hate something, you're pretty fair about it. And he's like, yeah, I love your stuff. Thank you. I'm like, that was very kind of you. Thank you. So he was really nice. So I talked with him for a bit, and he was kind of bummed out, chat. He's like, yeah, I work on background stuff. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I mean, background stuff's needed. He's like, yeah, but people just haven't really liked the songs I've done recently. And I'm like, what did you do? And he goes, I did the background for Silent Surf. And I was like, the problems people have with Silent Surf aren't its background. I'm like trying to cheer him up because some people hate Silent Surf. And I'm like, what have you been working on since then? And he's like, Push. He works on the Push. I'm like, okay, the Push environment is pretty good. I love the Jade City thing going on there. I do have some feedback if you want it. And he goes, please. And I was like, the last Push beta, it was really dark. And he goes, okay, I've heard that a little. And I'm like, no, like for the first time in 5 years, I had the urge to go into options and turn on standardized character models because I couldn't see what some people were doing. And he's like, I added some smoke vents. I thought it would be cool. People could like hide in the smoke and do stuff, but I guess it's not landing well. And I was like, I'm just letting you know my thoughts. And he's like, okay. And it was pretty cool because he was very human in that moment. It was really neat talking to him. So he made at least some or all, I don't know, of the background environment for Push, and the fractal that I mentioned. So I talked to him for a bit. He was really nice. Also, I just noticed this guy over here. I didn't even see this. So we've got a genuine photo bomber back here. I didn't even notice this in the picture. I don't even know who that is. So we got this guy just in the background here. I don't know who that is. So he snuck in there. You see Meemuck is getting tired. He's starting to flop over a bit. All right, and then we had this fine person came up and asked me to sign their back. I gotta tell you guys, I've never signed as Mukluk in my life. So the first person, I'm like, my name is Michael, and I'm like, and then I take the I and kind of make it a U, and then I'm like, okay. So I'm having to make up a signature for Mukluk, like on the spot. I didn't plan that out very well. So I'm having to like, every time I sign something, I was like, don't write your full legal name. Don't write your name. Is that Gabe? That is Gabe. He's making duck face in that picture. I don't know what's going on. He's probably talking to his mom over here. All right, and then, chat, this one really threw me off. So this person walks up, and they're like, hey, hi. And they were like, not the reaction I was hoping for. And I was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, do we know each other? And he's like, Gerard. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, Tyria? I'm like, okay. And he's like, Essence of Luck? And I'm like, Essence! That's Essence of Luck in real life. And I'm like, let me tell you, you look nothing like your female char. And he's like, okay, fair. So this is the person who made the achievement in game called Please Take a Seat, but you'll only need the edge. That was in reference to me. This is the person who did that. And he pulls out a Muk and asks me to sign it. And then he mugged for it. And he's like, I'm going to keep this at the office. He was like very swagger about it. So yeah, this is Essence of Luck, who has dropped by so many of us content creators' streams and raided with us and done convergences and stuff like that. And he apparently also bought a Muk, so he's got good taste. So that's Essence. Going to the next one. You guys probably don't know this person. They work in the background. Not many people see them on the day-to-day. This person's name is Ruby. Ruby and I had a very funny exchange. I posted, let me see if I can find it. I posted on socials, I said, I did this picture, and I said, and that's why we should delete Guardian. I think we've got like a new reaction image here. And then she replied, yeah, you convinced me. I'll tell the team to do it first thing Tuesday. So there's room for Monk on Wednesday. That's all I'm saying. You know, goodbye, blue boys and capes. Get rid of that. But she was really nice. She was running all over the place. She was constantly like running in, oh hi, running off. And she was just like here and there and gone. And like she was that one person at the party that's trying to like keep everything going, and she was just bolting all over the place, and it was impossible to talk to her for more than a minute. So she was great. I got to talk to her like at the end. Like chat, the event was like we had the tour. And then we were there for 2 hours, and then there was the event. So by the end of it, I had been kind of near them for like 7 hours. And at the end of the event, it was 10 p.m., and I got to kind of talk to her for more than 5 seconds for the first time when people were leaving. So I chatted with her, and then David seemed to really care about making me happy, which, you know, as well everybody should, but David really knew it. And he comes up and he's like, so how is everything? If you need anything, let me know. And I was like, I would love to I was like, before I leave, I really want to get a picture with you, and I really want to get a picture of Ruby. Now, I meant individually. I didn't mean like at the same time. And he's like, Ruby, come here. Muck wants a picture. I was like, oh God, like you make me sound so demanding. So he's like, Ruby, get over here. So Ruby comes over, and then like Grouch comes over, and then these two come over, and I think that's Amy, and then these come over, and like they come over, and I'm like, okay. And so my wife's getting ready to take one picture, and she's like, oh shoot, dang it. Oh, jeez, okay. And she keeps backing up. And then this happens. And my wife's like, are you shitting me? What are you serious? I could see her. I didn't hear it, but I could see the cussing on her mouth. And she's like backing up and backing up and backing up. Like, are you kidding me right now? And it was like the entire ArenaNet dev team at the event all like came in around me for this. I'm the only one here, not an employee. Do you know how flattering this was? Are you kidding me? My head was huge. So yeah, like dude, I mean, how many can you freaking name? Like, there's, like, that's Amy. I just met her. That's Grouch there. That's Darkbringer, David, Roy, Ruby. I think that's another, I know there's 2 Amy's. I think that might be another Amy. I think that's Kent. I just met Kent. Logan I just met. This guy was super nice, but I can't remember his name. If you're in the chat, yell at me. And that's Gerard. But I met too many people, I couldn't remember all the names. But so yeah, this happened. So I got this amazing picture, and all of them just saw me. But after this, by the way, you see this back here? There was one. You see this hand? There was one person walking around, and they had a handmade skimmer on like a pole, and they were carrying it around. And they won one of the giveaways. So Ruby called them, and you just see the skimmer, because they were short. You just see the skimmer in the crowd like, whoa, and everyone's like, yeah, the skimmer won. And they go up there, and they got some prize. Like, they had a bunch of giveaways they did. Like, everyone that came in got a ticket, and it had like a 6-digit number on it, and they called, and they'd be like, all right, if you've got this number, you get a Funko Pop. If you get this number, you get a Funko Pop. If you get this number, you get a Funko. They had a lot of Funko Pops. But then this number was like the big glass Oreen, and then this number was collector's edition of Guild Wars 2, which had the giant, Ritlock figure and stuff like that. There was a lot of cool giveaways. I didn't win anything from the giveaways. I just had to make do with all the free stuff they gave me. Oh yeah, and then there was one item that had bubble wrap stuck to it, and they're like, this person gets Funko Pop and bubble wrap. Everyone's like, bubble wrap! Like, it was the butter from our giveaways. And so, like, the next thing, they were like, oh, and there's no bubble wrap on this one. And the whole crowd was like, oh, and they're like, okay, we can add in some bubble wrap. But they pulled some out of the garbage. And they're like, yeah! And everyone freaked out for the bubble wrap. So it became like the new zucchini or butter or something like that. So that was very silly. But afterward, like they were all so nice, and I feel bad that I can't remember every single name I met there. I've tried to find some of them on socials and like follow them, and a lot of them were following me already. Like I found Kent on socials earlier. But at one point, this fella here and Kent walked up to me, and this guy was talking. Kent was just kind of being silent, and he was, hey, by the way, he has a kilt on. He goes, hey, I just want you to know, you're my favorite Guild Wars 2 content creator, which is very high praise from this guy. And he goes, anytime we release a patch, I love watching your thoughts videos afterward. Because even if you hate something we did, you're really fair about it. And I was like, thank you? Like, dude, that one, having someone who makes the game telling me they look forward to my thoughts on what they made, my head grew 3 more sizes. Like, that hit me really hard. And then, you know, Kent here, who was behind him, said, my sentiments exactly. I echo everything he's saying right now. I was like, geez, guys. So these two really inflated my ego before the picture. So they were, it's a wonder Muck can make it. Yeah, I almost didn't fit back on the plane. But yeah, I almost did very well. Yeah, there's so many of them. I didn't get to talk to a lot of them individually. Like some of these folks in this picture, I never spoke with, but they ran in for the photo. And so like they were there, but I never talked to them. However, David, who was, you know, he really seemed to want to make sure I was taken care of. Like he and Ruby were making sure I had like the Uber account, was able to get to and from. And he's like, what was your favorite part after each thing and stuff like that. You know, he's like, if there's anything I can do for you, he's like, you know, let me know. And I was like, there is one thing. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, I'm going to talk business for a second. And he's like, okay. And I was like, if this is a you, feel free to tell me, that's not my job. And he was like, okay. And I think he was getting nervous. And I proceeded to gesture to the little guy on my shoulder. I'm like, all right, this little guy. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, I got y'all's permission to make this. And we sold 750 of them. It did phenomenally well. And I didn't get any help from you guys marketing it or anything like that. That's just on its own. And he's like, yeah, it looks great. And I was like, I would love to make a lot more. I have been waiting 2 months to hear back on this. And he's like, okay, what do you need? And I was like, the dream would be to get a contract that basically says, Muck can do what he wants, but he gives us half of whatever he makes if it's with our characters. I was like, you let me do something like that, I will go crazy on these things. I could probably crank one out like every 3 months. I have so many ideas. And to be fair, you guys don't need me for this. I'd be kind of like middlemaning it. But you're not pursuing this. If you give me permission, I can go crazy with this, and you guys will make a profit, and you know I will like respect the characters and stuff like that. He goes, okay, well, first of all, you're right. That is not my job. He goes, but yeah, that should totally be doable. We probably just got to get like Bob, Sally, and so to like sign a piece of paper, something like that. He goes, I'll look into it. And I was like, that would be awesome. And he's like, okay. So he's like, I'll look into it. I was like, yeah, I got a lot of ideas on it, and yeah, you'd see there's a few people here with them, like they would sell. But yeah, so I totally barked up that tree while I was there. Make a Bram voodoo doll. But yeah, I totally barked up that tree while I was there. Didn't give them every idea I had because you know I got to keep some close to my chest. But yeah, I tried. But yeah, this whole thing was amazing. So there was 2 things, right? There was like the tour at ArenaNet, and then there was this. And holy guys, I'm not joking. It was like I felt like a celebrity for one evening. Now, it was only an evening. The next day, I got out of bed the next day. My feet were killing me. Like from the beginning of the day, my feet were killing me. Because again, I was standing up the entire day the day before, and I had been awake 21 hours. And I was like, oh my God, my feet hurt so bad. It just felt like the bottoms of my feet were just bruises. So I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, it's time to go to PAX. Let's go to PAX. Now, I wanted to wear we had a backpack with snacks and stuff because we heard about long lines. So I wanted to wear a backpack, so I couldn't wear the shoulder thing. So what we did is we basically opened the top zipper of the backpack and had the plushie in there and had it zipped up to like right here. So his head was just kind of peeking out of the top of the backpack. So we opted to do that because I couldn't wear the shoulder thing in the backpack at the same time, and I was already really sore. So we go to PAX and had some cool stuff that happened there to tell you guys about. So we go to PAX. It was within walking distance, and we head there, and it is, guys, outside on the street, there is a line that was, how can I explain this? So let's say we've got this is a sidewalk. Why is this? Hang on a sec. Okay, so let's say we got a sidewalk right here, okay? So over here, I don't use paint enough. I don't know where to use paint. Okay. And over here, we got a road, so I'm just gonna make like the little marks on the road. Okay, so that's the road. So over here's the sidewalk, all right? So the sidewalk, the people, like if like, you know, over here's an entrance, there's a line going a few blocks this way, then coming back and going a few blocks past this way, and then coming back and going the same few blocks back this way. And there's like a few security guards outside, like trying to keep us all in order. And it was just like three thick lines of humans to get in. So we were like, now it was going pretty fast, but it was a long line that was a few blocks long to get into the thing. So we get in there, and first we went into the building because there was one person who wanted to meet, and I'll tell you about him in a minute, and he said, I'll be in the Arch building. So we go into the Arch building, but the Arch building, they didn't have, like from the main entrance, you couldn't go up to the venue. You had to go through another building and go up to the venue, and then it connected to the upper story of the Arch building or something like that. But from the entrance of the Arch building, all you could do is get your badges. We already had our badges, or we got them, like we printed them out online or something like that, or we got them in the mail or something. But we already had our badges. So I was like, wait, I think we're in the wrong place. I'm looking around, no one around us has badges. I'm like, honey, I think we're in line to get badges. So I found one of like the hundreds of security people. I'm like, hey, I think we're in the wrong building. Can you point us to the actual entrance of the venue? We already have badges. And they're like, yeah. So, you know, 2 blocks that way. And I'm like, okay. So I go over there, and we get into the venue, we get inside, and we go up. Our notifications disabled right now. Yes. Thank you for the gifted stuff. Oh, is Chloe here? Hold on a sec. Hello, that's me. I was one of the last people to sign up to help with the event, so I missed the boat for the shirts. So I made with my Janthier Wild dev shirt instead. Oh, that's Chloe. Hello, Chloe. Please forgive me for not knowing all the names. I met a lot of new people that day, and I did not do a good job. I remember half of them. You know what, Chloe, since you're here, do you happen to know this person's name right here as well? He and Kent came up and talked to me, and I cannot remember his name, and I tried zooming in on the name tag, I can't see it. Travis? I'm writing that down. I need to Travis and Kent. All right, I talked to Travis and Kent at one point. I couldn't remember his name. Thank you. You are an angel. Appreciate that. Yeah, man, if you missed any of the story, rewind and hear the whole thing. I was telling him about like what a blur this was. Yeah, it was amazing. This actually, the next part of the story, Chloe might know, involves a certain Alex worked at ArenaNet up until 2 days ago. And I just missed him. And I ran into him at PAX, which is what I'm about to tell you guys about. That was it. So anyway, we get there. Time to pop quiz and muck. No, don't. We get to the PAX thing, and we get inside, and immediately there was a lot of cool stuff. This is just, we took a bunch of random pictures here in no particular order. There's a Star Seeker booth. There's like a bunch of things here where people can play. There's some screens. Fan Gamer had this thing that we're here. This guy is posing for my wife's picture. I didn't even see that. Nintendo Switch. Dude, one of the things I quickly found out is anything cool here had an hour-long line around it. So the Nintendo Switch 2 could kind of peek over people's shoulders, but if you wanted to play it, forget about it. Path of Exile 2 had a booth there. Massive line around it, had a few people in costume. It was cool to look at. I didn't want to stand in line for an hour, but PoE 2 had a booth there. And then here's me trying out the only thing I tried out while I was there. So before heading out, I try to follow everyone in ArenaNet I can. Now, I don't know all of their socials, but all the ones I find, I follow them. Alex Kane was someone who I had only spoken with in passing, but he worked at ArenaNet up until 2 days ago. And he posted, today was my last day at ArenaNet. New adventures await. It's been an incredible 8 years. I couldn't be more excited about what this team is building. I'll be taking a break in September, but if you come to PAX, say hello at booth 662. And then I message him, and I'm like, you leave the day before I fly out there to visit you guys. I'll be at PAX that Saturday. If you are there, I'll absolutely come visit. Is 662 an ArenaNet thing or your thing? He goes, oh no, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'll definitely be at PAX Saturday. Booth 662 is my side venture. It's an indie game called War of the Western Deep. And I was like, okay, so I'm going through PAX and I'm like, okay, everything that looks interesting has a massive, massive line. Larian Studios had a thing. There was a booth. There was a person dressed like Lae'zel. There was a person dressed like Shadowheart. There was a person dressed like Asterion. They were all like really high quality cosplays. And there was a line. And I stood in the line for a minute. And then I realized it was a line to buy merch. I was standing in line to spend money to buy keychains. And I was like, wait, what? I thought it was a line to see something Larian related. No, it was just a merch line. I was like, oh, god dang it. So I left the line. And then we went around and I was like, you know what? Let's go find 662. So we find it. And we find Alex. And Alex is, I don't know if he's in any of these shots. I don't think he is. This might be his arm. But I go up to him and I was like, I go up to a guy at the booth. And there's not many people there. It's an indie, this is an indie booth, so there's not many folks here. And I see this one guy, I'm like, are you Alex? And he goes, that's Alex. And I go up and I'm like, Alex! And I should put up my hand. And he goes, hi! And I was like, Mukluk. And he's like, oh! It was like that. He's just... like the dawning comprehension, he freaks out like I'm a celebrity or something, and like he didn't even recognize me, and you know, he makes that noise, and he's like, oh my god, you actually came out. I was like, I told you I was. And he goes, there's just people on the internet say stuff, and I was like, yeah dude, I'm here, what are you doing? And he's like, oh my god. And so he shows me, and he's making this game, and it was called War of the Western Deep. Is there anything War of the Western Deep? I don't know if there's anything online about it yet. Oh, it's got a Steam page. Okay. So he is apparently, as a side project, while he was working at ArenaNet, he is the lead developer of this. This is a game that they're making. It is entirely hand-drawn. And they made it in the... Dude, I played it for 5 minutes, and I was like, this reminds me of King's Quest. And he goes, big inspiration. The way that you solve things is like, you know, maybe like you want to leave the tutorial and the guard's like, I need to see that you've got your sword ready. And you have to go in your inventory, pull out the sword, get it on your mouse, and click on the guard to you know, get past that. So basically there's, you know, you interact with the environment, you interact with your inventory, and it's all hand-drawn and stuff like that. And this has been his side project while he was working at ArenaNet, and he was showing this off, and he had like one other staff member that was there. But it was pretty cool. Does it have the convoluted puzzles? I don't know. I just played the demo for a couple minutes. But yeah, it was pretty neat, and I told him, I was like, well, hey, you know, a big streamer, if you need any help promoting this in the future, let me know. And he's like, I'll absolutely hit you up. So this was me trying it. It was on a controller, so I had to learn how to hit right bingle bongle and stuff like that. But I hung around with him there for a while, and he was really nice to talk to. He told me so many things he was not allowed to tell me about ArenaNet, and I can't tell you guys, and it's eating me up inside. But yeah, like I know how to get to Zaitan Phase 2, when the Tengu are coming up, like all kinds of stuff. But yeah, you know, so we talked for a while. He's like, yeah, I can just tell everything. And then I was like, all right, well, my kid at this point, Gabe is bored out of his mind. There was long lines, and then dad was talking to some old nerd for like 30 minutes. So my son is hating PAX. So I was like, okay, let's maybe split up. So my wife takes Gabe around to go to whatever he wants to go to, and I keep schmoozing and mingling and schmingling, all right? So that's me at Alex's booth. Borderlands 4. I just thought these statues were cool. I asked Anna to snap a pic. This was a Borderlands 4 booth. So they had these giant statues that were set up. I've played every Borderlands game so far, except for the Tales of series, so definitely going to check that out when we can. And that's it. I don't have many pictures of PAX. So I can tell you what I did do, though. While I kind of hit my stride in the indie dev area, the whole indie dev area was like 1 or 2 people were in line at each thing. And it was a lot of devs, I was supposed to say little devs, devs that were releasing their first product, their first project, right? They looked nervous, it looked very human, stuff like that. So I started going around, and I'm trying to figure out how to mingle as a streamer. Because like part of me, I'm just there as a nerd, right? Now, you know the Hillary Clinton meme where she's like, oh, like that was me. Part of me was that. Part of me though is like, look, I stream, I do sponsored stuff for, as part of my living. If I can make some connections here, it could be really good. So I start going up to different ones, and I went up to one. I'm like, yo, I'm just watching, and he's like, hey, do you want to play the demo? And I'm like, no, I'm good just watching this person play the demo. And I'm like, forgive me if I'm wrong. This looks really similar to The Room. And he goes, that was a big inspiration for it, along with this and this and this and this and Inscription. I was like, we loved streaming Inscription. And I made sure to use the word streaming. He's like, you're a streamer. And I'm like, oh, did I say that? Why, yes, I am. And, dude, chat, I'm figuring it out. I'm rolling the charisma dice, right? I'm figuring out how to talk to these people. And I was like, oh yeah, my community really loved that. A bunch of them ended up getting, and we're talking about this stuff. And he's like, yeah, this is our game. It's, it's like kind of like a puzzle thing. And also their very booth was a puzzle. Like everyone that walked up, they would be like, oh, sir, here's your mail. And it was like a post office theme, and you'd open it and it would be like, don't trust him. And certain words would be in bold. And if you read the bolder words, it'd be like, look under the table. So some people were just like walking up to the booth and looking under the table and scanning a QR code. And they had a literal mystery thing around their booth. Now the booth was starting to get busy, so I didn't want to like shove people around to try to solve this thing, but it was pretty sweet. And I was talking with them, and I learned a lot as a creator over the next 3 hours there. Like I was talking to people, I was like, yo, I love your game. I have streamed the Elder Scrolls games. I've streamed Avowed. They all both look similar to this. And he's like, oh, thank you. Yeah, those are big inspirations, but we also have like a system in it where you can go more technological or go focus on magic. And I was like, have you ever heard of Arcanum of Steamwork of Magix Obscura? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, that sounds like what you described. And I was like, this sounds really cool. And he's like, thank you so much. That means the world to me. It's like you say, anything nice about their game. And I genuinely meant it, but you could tell that like it meant a lot to them. There was one guy who was making his first game, and it looked like a JRPG. And I was like, hey, this looks really cool. And he's like, oh, thank you. And I was like, you look really nervous. I was like, is this your first release? He goes, yeah. And I was like, I get it. Having to show everyone the working build for the first time. And he goes, I got it working yesterday. And I was laughing, and I was like, oh, it looks solid. And I was like, yo, look, I see this person in a conversation, and the art looks beautiful. This person over here's in combat. I don't know what to think of that combat system. He's like, oh, yeah, it's a queue. And he's like, so you basically see the next 6 actions your enemy is going to do, and then you plug in 6 actions and basically hit play, and both of them resolve at once. I'm like, that's unique. I've never seen like a JRPG. Like visually this looks like Octopath Traveler, but that combat system you just listed is like, what? And he goes, yeah, we're trying something new. I wanted to do something unique. I'm like, you nailed it. And I told him, I was like, dude, I've streamed games like this. My community has loved some games like this. And I was like, if the answer is no, it's totally fine. However, I am here both as a nerd and also as a streamer. And then I just started spitting out my numbers. I was like, look, I usually get 200 to 300 a night. I played 110 games last year. I've streamed every day for 7 years. If you need anybody, I would love to trade contact info with you. If not, it's okay. And I kind of started figuring out how to like pitch myself kind of. And over the next 3 to 4 hours, I traded contact info with like 10 different indie devs. And dude, my feet hurt so bad at the end, but it was like 90% of my time at PAX was in that indie dev section. And just basically any of them that were streaming a game that I thought you guys might like. Like there was some that was like a racing game. I didn't even stop there. I didn't care. But there was so many that I traded contact info with, and I think I hit it off with like spice. I think I hit it off as like one of them was just like, yeah, okay, we'll call you if we need you. But like 9 of them were like, oh my God, thank you, sir. Like I was, like God's gift to streaming or something. But it worked out really well. But I took all their... Dude, I could do it so much better next time, though. If I ever did this again, like a lot of them have their business cards in the form of a QR code. My phone is as slow as a brick. And there was 1 bar of signal in the venue. So trying to scan QR codes in there was flipping impossible. So like I was taking screenshots of QR codes to scan them later, things like that. And like, I didn't have a business card. So I was like, okay, next time I need to at least bring like a pad of paper or something like that. But yeah, I learned a lot. I met a lot of really cool people. There was, hold on. Let me see. Hold on. I want to make sure I don't show something. Okay. Let's see. There was one. Let me see if they have a Steam page. There was one that I saw there. Let me see if they're on here. Yeah. This is Another Pint. This game is about building a tavern. And, you run a tavern at one time of the day. You design it kind of like a Guild Wars 2 homestead. You also run the business. And then occasionally you go outside like an ARPG to collect ingredients for your tavern. And so you run around the open world and stuff. And it was funny talking with them because while I was chatting with them, they actually had to like be, can you hold on? That guy just left the demo area. Sir, please stop. And, like, they had people that were somehow falling out of the demo area and be like, oh, what's over here? And they're like, no. And so they had to like pause their conversation with me a few times because there were some holes in their demo and people were escaping and they didn't want that to happen. Moonlighter at Tavern. Yeah, kind of. There was also, let's see, there was one called Mystic. Is this the one from Ilham? Yeah, this was the guy I told him that it looked like Elder Scrolls or Avowed, but then his description of it sounded like Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. And this was their first game. And dude, there was a guy there. This game was like based on real world locations in like the Middle East, and he was dressed in like full like Middle Eastern garb. Like he was like really, really, you know, putting in 110% into his booth. And there was like no one there. And I went up and chatted with the guy for like 20 minutes and, you know, ended up, you know, swapping numbers with them, and they were really excited about it, but it was awesome. But there was a bunch. There was one, you guys know how Helldivers, they kind of like really lean into it, like, you know, attention citizens for democracy, stuff like that. This one guy, I walked past him and he's like, sir, how will you respond to the call? And dude, this guy was dressed up like he was part of the bad guys in Command and Conquer. And like he was like Brotherhood of Cain. And I was like, what? And he's like, will you respond to the call? And I'm like, yeah, man, what's up? And I follow him, and he's like, yo, sign here. And it was just like, you put your name on a card, and then he gives you the card, and it was like for the game. And then he was like, yo, we value democracy. Place your vote in the box. And there was 2 boxes, and one said like, all citizens every morning have to rise and cheer for the great overlord, and the other one was like a marching thing. And basically whichever thing won the vote was getting added as a gimmick to the game, and so everyone got like a coin, and you put the coin in one of the boxes. And that was for, let me see, I don't know if they have they don't have a Steam page yet, but I was going to show it if they did. But like that was really memorable. Just like the guy was really selling it. They were all in like what looked like Brotherhood of Nod cosplay, but they were really into it. But yeah, there was a few others. There was a few others, but it was pretty neat. But after all that, you know, my wife was pretty bored. My son was super bored. And they were like, okay, you know, maybe we should head back to the hotel. And I was like, I want to keep talking to more people and just keep schmoozing, but my legs do feel like they're about to fall off. And so I ended up, is this it? Oh, hang on. Is that it? Oh, yeah, this is it. This was the one. This is the one where the guy was like really in character. I think you have some updates. Well, yeah, my computer's been off for a few days, Gallic. So this was the one, and I was like, yo, I love your game. If you're interested in working together, yada, yada, yada. So I chatted with them for a bit. But they were really leaning into the characters, kind of like the Helldivers team does. But they were wonderful and got a lot of info there. But then we ended up going back to the hotel. So I feel like I just wasn't at PAX very long. We were at PAX for maybe 4 hours and didn't see really any of the big stuff except from a distance because I didn't want to stand in the massive lines. And then after that, we went to the indie area, which was great, and we hung out in the indie area. I was there for like 2 hours just schmoozing and mingling, and I was getting better at it, but I think I schmoozed and mingled every one of the booths that had a game that I think our community would be interested in. And then we ended up heading back. At this point, my legs were about to give out. I actually had to sit on a bench on the side of the road for a couple of minutes before we could like finish getting back to the hotel. So we get back to the hotel, and at this point in time, we've done everything we went to Seattle for. We went to the ArenaNet tour, we went to the ArenaNet community get-together, and we went to PAX. And I gotta say, as a gamer, I don't feel like PAX was worth it. But maybe I did it wrong. But, you know, I basically went across the country, went there, and there was just massive, massive lines everywhere, and I could hardly see anything. So as a gamer, PAX was kind of whatever. As a content creator, if I'm able to like land a few deals with some like 2 or 3 people, it would cover the cost of the whole trip. And then, boy howdy, I might be able to do something like this more often. But that was like how I felt about the PAX experience. Next time, hit up the devs you've done activations for before and see about getting access to avoid lines. I don't know that there was anyone there that I had done work with before. Like, almost the entire indie area was people that were releasing a game for the first time, not like their next release, you know, and they already knew me. I did see Warhorse Studios there. They made they helped the guy that made Manor Lords and the team that made Against the Storm, and I schmoozed with them for a while, and they were really cool. When I used to go to PAX East, I would go to the venue early so I could be in front of the line for the big thing I want. Yeah, but that was the thing, is like, you're in front of the line for that one, but as soon as you finish with that, then there's a massive line at everything else, right? So that's just like, you get one. But yeah, I didn't, like, for example, if it had been me, I would have been straight at the front of the line for Larian, and then found out it wasn't even anything new. It was just a merch store. And then I would have been like, oh. And then, oh, it's too late. Well, Path of Exile 2 already has a massive line. Warhorse, didn't they do Kingdom Come Deliverance? Wait, hold on. Maybe I said it wrong. Give me a second. Sorry, Hooded Horse. Not Warhorse. It was Hooded Horse. Yeah, I just checked my notes. You play PoE? Yeah, we got like 1,000 hours of PoE. I made a couple guides for it too. Okay, so for me, I got other stuff to share with you about Seattle, but for me, the Guild Wars 2 community event was absolutely my favorite thing out there. Now, part of that is because I got to feel like a superstar for one evening. I've never felt like that before, chat. That was amazing. My ego was on the friggin' 9th plane of heaven. It was way up there. So yeah, I loved all the attention I got there. I have a huge ego. That was amazing. So that was great. And so many people said nice things. And I got, I got the Panda Express gift card. That was great. There was so many people. Dude, and seeing all the people that had like Meemucks there, that was so neat. So that was great. But, someone asked if anyone recognized me at PAX. No. Neovalar was there, who had seen me the day before at the community event. He's the only one. No one recognized me at PAX. So I was back to normal Michael the next day. But yeah, the Guild Wars 2 community meetup was my top thing. Everyone was so nice. It was so awesome. The tour was my second favorite thing. The tour was really cool, but I actually got to meet more of the devs at the community meetup than I did touring at ArenaNet. Like, it was just like on the tour, we saw like David and Ruby, and then they showed us to like each of these rooms. There was one guy in the sound room, one gal in the mocap room, and et cetera, et cetera. But then like here at the event, there was all of these guys and gals. So I got to see like way more here than I did there. And then PAX was, of the three major things I went to Seattle for, PAX was my least favorite thing. Not that I hated it, but it just, like, as a gamer, again, it was just exhausting, and I didn't really get anything out of it as a gamer. But as a content creator, we'll see. If more comes of the connections I made there, then that could maybe justify the cost of the whole trip, and maybe I could do it again next year. I don't know. Do we get to see the swag? Absolutely. Let me finish telling the story, though. So, fun fact for you guys. Gasoline. It's about $2.85 a gallon here where I live in Georgia. It is $4.85 in Seattle. It is $2 more per gallon. And basically everything's like that. A bottle of water, a cheeseburger, an Uber, French fries. Seattle is stupid expensive. I could not afford to live there unless it was in some tiny apartment. Like, it was, dude, like, I am sorry, but the experience there was like mid-service for way too exorbitant a cost. All right? Like, while we were there, we stayed at I think it was called the Westin Hotel. And I remember Ruby was like, oh, wow, that's a good one. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, the only reason we picked Westin is when we got our PAX tickets, it included a coupon for Westin. So we picked Westin to save a few bucks. So we ended up at Westin. Chat, there was barely any hot water. It was lukewarm at best. There was no water pressure at all, so it was hard to get clean. The Wi-Fi was $20 per night that you used it. There was almost no toilet paper when we checked in. The phone didn't work. We asked for a rollaway cot for my son, and they gave us a crib. So I tried. He didn't fit. It was just like at least it didn't have rats, I guess. Like, it was the most mid hotel I'd ever seen, and it was double the cost of most hotels I've been in. Like, Jesus Christ, it was Do not recommend the Westin. Like, they were polite. That was it. They politely showed us to a trashed room. I mean, it was very nice. So then, like, we went to, let's see, we ate at Ivar's at one point. I had a burger and fries. The burger was okay. It kind of tasted like the meat had been frozen in the past. The fries were delicious. They were some of the best fries I've had in my life, which was really weird that one thing was so good. Those fries were the best thing I had in Seattle. Then we had like a breakfast thing one morning. I had the worst croissant of my life. Then after PAX, we went to a place, is it called Tidal? Tidal. Tidal. Don't recommend. We go in there. You ever been to a restaurant that like thinks it's an uppity restaurant, but it's not? Like they don't have salt and pepper on the table because they think they're too good for that. Like crap like that. Tidal was, they thought they were uppity. So Tidal, we go in and we get water glasses that are like shot glasses. And they put a jug of water, no ice, on the table. It's just like tap water, temp water on the table, and we're supposed to use the jug to fill our own shot glasses, as for whenever we need refills. And I'm like, okay. The salt shaker had a single hole in the top, so if you wanted salt, you had to do this for like an hour, like it was a shake weight or something. That was weird. There was there was no bread or any kind of appetizer. We had to wait about 20 minutes on our food. Most of the prices were not in the menu. You know, those guys are like, if you're here, you don't need to know how expensive the Coca-Cola is. You know, they just don't even have the prices in the menu. You have to ask because they're too good for that. And we finally get the food. Chat, I got, what did I get? I got grilled jumbo shrimp and fries. The fries reminded me of the ones in my middle school lunchroom. They were quite poor. And they were also quite expensive. It was crinkle cut? No, it was like cardboard. It was terrible. So it's like pretty much everything outside of like the Guilders 2 event that we got in Seattle was overpriced mid. Like that was it. I was just like, oh my god. Like let me put it to you this way. On our way out there, we ate in a McDonald's in the airport while we were waiting on our flight. That McDonald's was better than any of the food I had in Seattle. Like, oh my god. And it was a tenth of the cost. Let me tell you about another thing. We get the bill for the three of us at Tidal, and it was $100. And my wife's like, oh man. And she starts to give the guy the standard American tip, which is 15%. So she starts to add $15. And then she sees in small text at the bottom, we have already added an 18% upcharge for our staff. If you would like to tip and add an additional tip, that is up to you. And it's in tiny text at the bottom. And then we look at the breakdown of our meals, and our meals totaled to be 85, and they had upped it to 100 without telling us. And we were about to make it 115 to tip the guy who brought us lukewarm water. And I was pissed. And it's apparently like, were you in a big group? No, it was three of us. It was 3 people. It's 3 people, terrible food, bad service, warm water, and they slapped on an $18 tip without talking to us. So my wife scratches out the tip she was writing and just circles the "you've already taken my money" line, and that was it. I was just like, God dang, this is bad. Like, I told you to go to there. Okay, look, so many people told me to go to so many things. We were there for 2 nights, right? There was only so many things we could hit up. But yeah, it was high-priced mid. It was tip minus 3%. Yeah. American tipping culture is absurd. Gray Fox, I have never seen a place just add in a tip without telling me. Like, when I get the receipt to sign it, they had already added it. That was a new experience for me as an American. So, yeah, don't recommend the Westin Hotel. Don't recommend the Tidal restaurant. The fries at Ivar's were pretty good. And the McDonald's in the Atlanta airport was top tier. Can we see the loot? Yes. Yes, I will show you everything I got. Let me see what we got here. So, let me do close up, turn off the green screen. Okay, what do we got? So, first of all, let me show you all the things they gave me. So one, I think everyone that went to the event got a bag. Got a baggy waggy, Guilders 2 Visions of Eternity. Everyone that went there that filled out one of the papers also got a shirt. I got a Visions of Eternity shirt right here. Mukluk for scale. Men's medium. I'm a skinny boy. Throw that in here. And then, let's see what it is. Is there anything in here? There was something in this bag. I don't, oh. Yeah, this is what they handed me the shirt in, because they prepped the shirts and had them all lined up, so that goes in here. Let's see. Oh, how could I forget? When I first got to PAX, you know what the first booth was that we saw when we walked in? It was a mock-up of the Daily Bugle. Chat, they gave me pictures of Spider-Man. Pictures of Spider-Man! Also, this comic book looks like a giant Magic the Gathering trading card. So, the first, like, I don't know, 100 people or something, not 100, more than that. The first chunk of people that got in got one of these, and then they ran out. So, me and Anna and Gabe got one of these comic books that looks like a Magic the Gathering trading card pictures of Spider-Man, dressed as the Fantastic Four with the bag on his head. And so we got these. So, yeah, we got pictures of Spider-Man right when we walked in the door. All right, so this was from the loot bag that Ruby gave us. This is the partners. The partners got this bag. So there's Janthier Wilds, and it is what appears to be something like a coloring book. So like there's the homesteads and some Coden buildings, and there's a guy on a Warclaw, and there's sexual tension, and there's some bears hunting and stuff like that. So this thing was in our grab bags. There's many pages to that, and I have so much stuff in here. Okay, this is another thing that the partners got. There is it's like a little pad that says ArenaNet, and there's paper in here. I should have brought this to PAX. It would have made my life easier, but I left it in the hotel room. And there's a pin. I got that. And this looks like a bank bag, but it says ArenaNet Player Voice, which is the team that I believe David and Ruby work on. We don't really hear about that, but that's there. So we got this thing. It looks like a bank bag. So there's that. A deck of playing cards, which has a picture of a D20 on it, but it doesn't have a D20 in it. Oh, it's upside down. So I got like a deck of ArenaNet playing cards for all your gambling needs. So that's there. Chip, for the first time in days. What's up? Hello, sir. We came in today. He heard us, banging in with our suitcases. He immediately ran, and then he realized it was us over the next few minutes, and made his way back downstairs and said hi to everybody. Let's see, what else we got? Okay, this thing I haven't tested. I think this might be a magnet. So this thing is very heavy for its size. It's got some weight to it. I think it might be, if it's not a magnet, it's a paperweight. So I got this thing. This was my name tag for while I was in the thingy, and the traffic cone guy that gave me the traffic cone, I stuck it on here. But the partners all got these laminated name tags for the events, and then everyone else were given like a sticker, and then they could write whatever they want on the sticker. A lot of this stuff in my hands right now is stuff I got from talking to those devs, like flyers and things like that. A pen. Got a pen. This says ArenaNet on it right here. My camera's not, there we go. The camera wasn't focusing for a minute. And a commander tag keychain that says ArenaNet partner on the back of it. I'm a very important commander. I will lead you to your death. A pen. So you see it's got like the little pin back thing, so I punch through a shirt. And it says Soto. I got that. That's worth 300 gold. Yeah, the commander tag is 300 gold. Okay, we got the tiny traffic cone that one fellow gave me that with the traffic cone on his head. Oh gosh, who was it who... Hold on, if I look at the names, I'll recognize it. Helvetica from Guild Wars 2 University had a bunch of 3D printed magnetic Catmander badges, and he gave some out and he gave me one. So this was from Guild Wars 2 University. They gave me this Catmander badge. It's got a magnet on the back of it, so you could like, pin it to your shirt or something. So got that. There was one person at the event that I don't know what prompted it, but it was pretty cool. They had a whole bunch of these like little finished wooden squares, and then using stamps they had, apparently they were putting they put Guild Wars 2 logos on them, and then they were giving these out to people, and they're like, "Oh, you're Mukluk, you can have a whole set," and then they gave me a whole set of them, like one for each expansion. It's showing up partially on there. But coasters, no, they're small. I mean, you can see it in my hand. It's smaller than a coaster, but they're like about the size of poker chips. So it's definitely kind of like a souvenir type thing. So he gave me a bunch of those. And then I got like a sticker and then my ticket that did not win me any prizes in here. I think that's it for the loot bag. Yeah. And then other than that, I've got like my map of PAX and my badge from PAX and stuff like that. Is a shot glass coat? Yeah, if it was a very tiny glass, sure. I thought Yorst University was an actual academic institution. It might be. I'm not super familiar with their work. I know that was one of a few people that had basically just gotten into the partner program like not long ago, so I had never met them. And when Helvetica first came up to me, he's like, "Hey, I'm sure you get this a lot, but you know, I know you, but you don't know me." And I was like, "You would be surprised," because at that point in time, I had been addressed as Mukluk outside exactly once, which was at a Renaissance fair, and you know, we chatted up. He was super nice, but yeah, I hadn't seen his stuff before then. And then we woke up this morning at 4 a.m. and went to the airport and got on a 5-hour flight home. Between my 2 flights, I watched the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the Minecraft movie. That one is kind of lame. What else did I watch? Oh, John Wick 4. And halfway through, I realized I don't think I'd seen John Wick 3. But it didn't really affect the plot. Everyone was trying to kill Keanu Reeves. Nothing new. So, I mean, I kind of knew what I needed to know. But I think I need to watch 3 at some point. But yeah, now I know how it ends. I think that's it. Real question. Did you have fun? Yes. I think I already answered that. But yeah, the Guild Wars 2 community event was amazing. Both, like, obviously I got a big head. Everyone was treating me like a superstar, which I really didn't deserve, but boy, howdy, I'm gonna take it. So lots of people were come up and, you know, talking to me and stuff like that. The devs especially, I loved getting to talk to the devs about the game. Like, especially the ones that made me feel like my opinion mattered. Like, Logan, who came up and he asked my opinion on the background of Push, and like Gerard coming up and talking to me, and you know, he had slipped in those achievements in the game references to me, and David kept asking me my thoughts on stuff, and then Kent and was it Travis were like, oh, I forgot to tell you guys, when I was talking to Kent and Travis, they were talking about how they valued my feedback. We ended up talking about Bavanisos, and they're like, yeah, do you have any feedback on Bavanisos? First thing that came to my mind, I was like, why is the map a giant brown block on my world map? I kind of hate how I have to super zoom in for it to actually show the map of Bavanisos. Why does it do that? And they're like, oh, we set it up like that because we don't want it to show spoilers before you're ready. And I'm like, don't you already know what Bavanisos is by the time you open up the map? And they're like, no, you actually find out what it is like after you open up the map. And I'm like, okay, what about all the playtime after that? Could you make it like after you're past a certain story step, the map is revealed or something? Because it's really irritating right now. And they're like, I wonder if we can do that. And they were talking to each other, like, I wonder if we can do that. And they're like, do you have anything else? And I'm like, I could talk about like Stallion for a few minutes. And they're like, okay. And I was like, well, one, it's kind of weird that you've got this tough boss at the beginning and then just for the rest of it. And they're like, yeah, we've heard that. And I was like, okay, lore-wise. When I first hit Lextalion, it didn't make any sense. I thought you guys had just copy-pasted Gorseval over there. And they're like, well, we kind of did. And I'm like, you know what I mean. And I was like, it wasn't until after I talked to Loranity and learned more about the lore of the Titans and how they're made and the forge and stuff like that, I was like, that it made sense. And I was like, oh, wait, this is actually pretty cool. But there wasn't enough lore explaining Lextalion and what he is before you get to him. So it just seems like you guys just copy-pasted the boss kind of lazily, which I now know you did not. But that's how it seems because there's just not enough nuggets of information leading up to him. And he's like, well, actually, and I'm like, and I did click on all the little side quest books before I got there. And he's like, I thought we added some stuff in a book. It was somewhere. I'm like, come on, guys, if it's tucked in a corner, not everyone's going to find it. He's like, yeah. So we talked about that. But it was a really cool conversation because, I mean, they might have been faking it, but they seem to really care about my opinion on stuff, which, of course, feels nice. You know, it feels nice because it's like you post some feedback on the forum and then the dev responds. You know, it feels really nice. But yeah, like this, I was on Cloud 9. I love this event. I would love to go back. It's just a question of expense. Like even if I went alone one year, like even just like the plane tickets and a couple days of hotel, different freaking hotel, a couple days of hotel stay and food and like the ticket to, you know, PAX or whatever, it'd be at least $2,000. It'd be at least $2,000, even if it was just me. So need to either land a couple of sponsorships at PAX to pay for it, or just eat the loss. I'm not sure which. Did you snoop any Guild Wars 3 news? Yo, Guild Wars 3, Guild Wars 4, Tyrion fight tactics. Chloe, if you steal that, I want commission. Yeah, dude. Yeah, all of it. All of it. New Patreon level. Yeah, new Patreon level. Send me back to ArenaNet. Fantastic. Achievement. Mug told us their storytelling sucks, so here's 99 pages and a legendary ain't one. Is this obvious enough of tribute? No. Tyrion fight tactics. I know. So boy was only bored, needed to sleep in a bad food. I don't think it'll come to you again. Yeah, okay, yeah. He told us, because we asked him, we were like, if you knew everything about the trip that you now know, would you go out again? And he's like, not again. And so basically, he loved the trip to ArenaNet and seeing the stuff there, but the trip to this event here, he was bored for 3 hours. And the trip to PAX, he thought he was going to like it, and he ended up being bored for 4 hours. Because he went around on his own with mom, and he was just standing in lines. And then I was just talking to devs for hours on end. So he found lines and me both boring there. So he was like, okay, yeah. He's like, going to the studio was awesome. But the rest of it, he's like, ugh. Need to take him to DragonCon next year? Maybe. Was that everything? Oh my god. Dude, it took me 2 hours to relay that story. To be fair, Muck's uncle did offer us their guest room, then we'd have to find a way to get... Yeah, but the hotel we stayed at it had a discount, and it was within walking distance of everything we wanted to do, which... You know, being a mile away from your destination in Seattle might mean a mile uphill the entire way. We found that out. It's very sloped. Best thing to do at PAX as a kid is go to the free play rooms and just play console games. What about Heretic? I know that one. Shut up. Let's see. This was like a second birthday weekend with all the fun stuff. Yeah. I mean, he got to take a day off school and go see game dev stuff, so that was pretty awesome. Large conventions are definitely hard for younger audience. A smaller convention would probably be his face. Possibly. I'll say we didn't give any pictures. We did see a lot of cool cosplayers there. There was one of an 8-bit version of Springtrap. There was one guy that looked like he was in Red Ant armor from Grounded. There was one lady that was a very curvy version of Pyramid Head. There was, I think, what is it? Is it Castle Crushers? Castle Crusader? Yeah, okay, these guys. Cool. All right, I've never played this game. There was 4 people in, like, full-body suits that look like tall versions of these guys. And they were marching around the whole thing, and they looked really cool. So there was a bunch of them marching around. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. There was like 4, I think they were part of the booth, but there was some cosplayers for the main cast of Baldur's Gate 3, and they were in, they didn't look perfect, like, but the makeup and the outfits were like 10 out of 10. But there was one for like Lae'zel and Shadowheart and Asterion and stuff like that.
I saw FNAF and Hollow Knight.
I didn't see, I saw Cult of the Lamb. There was a lady dressed as the Lamb. Let's see. Assuming Anna agrees. Wait, hold on. What was this? Sell plushies to fund future travel. I mean, sure. I mean, our next plushie is... Can you hand me the minion? So our next plushie... I mean, this one's not Guild Wars 2 related. This one was like the channel mascot. But this guy is... let me turn off the green screen because he's got some green on him. This guy is going to be available in September 9th if I can get the commercial done in time. I need, like, once I've recovered, like over the next 48 hours, I need to work on him. But yeah, his hood moves, the potion bottle is Velcro and can come off of his hand, which is what gave me the idea of making an Elementalist plushie that has a revive icon that Velcros to their head. So this dude is on the way, and assuming that the folks at ArenaNet give me permission to make more, the next one I want to do would be like Baby Oreen. But I got to get that contract that says I can do it without getting sued or something. Trying to think if that's it. If you got any more questions about the Seattle thing, let me know. This is going to be a long video already. I would buy a Baby Oreen so fast I have the Funko Pop. I got a question. I haven't been here for the past hour. Can you say everything again? Nope, rewind. Have you always had legs? I manifested legs right before the Seattle plane tickets were purchased. Sell legendary bacon plushies. Do you have a picture of the Char fursuit? I know where we can get one. Scrittiana Jones, by the way. Okay, let's see. Hang on. Where is it? Ah, here we go. Community meetup. There we go. My wife didn't take a picture of it, but there's one here. That is the char suit. It was this one and that giant Choya that were both there. I think there's a pic of me. Yeah, there's the Choya. There's a pic of me in here somewhere. Oh, yeah, there's me. There's me in the back talking to Nog Dog. There is a lot of people in here talking about my New Balance shoes, chat. More than I would expect. Was the huge griffin statue somewhere? I did not see a huge griffin statue, no. Did you check out both buildings for PAX or just the expo hall? I don't know if I saw every building. Dude, it was an ocean of people. It was rough getting around. I saw... Hold on a second. Map. Okay. What do I recognize here? Alright, so there's a Summit Level 0, Summit Level 2. Dude, I don't even think I found this. Alright, so there is... the expo hall. Yeah, I don't even think we found this other building. Yeah, Expo Hall was massive. Like, okay. Right here, it looks like that's one room, right? No, that was like the top of 2 separate buildings that were connected by a bridge. And it doesn't show it, but that little blank area above the word Daedalic on the map had like 40 indie booths, okay? Like, this thing was massive. And there is another map section here for a different building. I don't even know how to get to it. Before... I did not find it before my family gave out on me and we had to go. So I don't even know where the other building was. That event was like a dungeon map? Yeah. Dude, you know what else kind of sucked? Let me see if I... Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Give me a second. There's something I want to look for and I will show you. Okay, perfect. I want to show you this. Okay, so on the map I just shared, which okay, there it is. I have so much stuff around me I'm going to sort through tomorrow. Okay, really quickly. All right, so see this map here? Let me do a full screen thing. All right, see this map? And you see Larian right there in the middle, right? Okay. Look at what's above Larian. There's Daedalic, Gravity, there's a couple things, right? Maybe like 7 things, okay? This is the map they were giving out at the expo, okay? All right, there's Larian on the internet map. Look how much is here. The map they give you when you're there doesn't show any of this. Like, it doesn't show any of this. It was very frustrating. We kept having to open the map on our phone because none of this was labeled on the paper maps that they gave out. So, like, for example, this area up here was all those indie devs. And I spent a bunch of time there. None of them are on this at all. Like, this whole section here. Here's Hooded Horse. I talked to them for a long time. Ilham, I talked to them for a long time. Sungrove Studios, this is where Alex from ArenaNet was. And like this entire section is not on the paper map. They wouldn't be able to fit it into the leaflet. Yeah, they could. They literally could just copy paste this. They could. But yeah, anyway, they didn't. So once we realized that the paper map was absolute crap, then we started using this map on our phones, which was kind of rough because the phones all had like between 0 and 1 bar of service while we were in there. But now I know for the future, just use the phone for this. You gotta buy the battle pass. Dude, there were some lines that required that. My son stood in a couple lines and they're like, oh, yeah, you didn't buy the Jumbo Plus ticket, so you can just watch. And there were some lines that if you didn't get the right type of PAX ticket, you couldn't like play the thingies. And I wasn't with him when that happened, so I don't have any further details on that. Like, that was when he and mom were walking around. But there was apparently some lines to do some stuff, and if you didn't have like the super mega ultra pass, you could only watch. It was pay to queue. It was weird. All in all, it was a cool experience. Just recapping, the community meetup was just such a blast. The tour around ArenaNet was pretty cool. Loved getting to talk to the devs most of all. And then PAX was fine as a gamer. I would go again if it were really close, or if I'm going to this event again anyway and PAX is across the street, I might as well. I would go again. but otherwise it wouldn't be worth it for me to go. That's as a gamer. As a content creator, it remains to be seen. If I end up getting any like partnerships or sponsorships from the 10 companies I schmoozed with, that could help pay for the trip, and then that could justify more trips in the future. We'll see. It was the Kirby game. There was a Kirby game. I'm not sure if that was the one he had that issue with. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the story time. ArenaNet was awesome. If there's any of them still in the chat, you guys are fantastic. I gotta talk with more of them on like socials and stuff like that. Like I just found Kent on socials earlier today, but it was fantastic. I would love to do it again, and totally not because they inflated my ego.